Have you ever been given advice from someone and it just didn't feel right in your gut? What if that person, I'm sure you have, because I think we all have been there. What if that person was an expert, somebody who should know more about a topic than you? What would you do then? Would you listen to them or would you listen to your inner knowing? What if that person told you that you would die if you didn't listen to them? What then? This is exactly where my story begins. The year was 2004, and this was in the summer of 2004. I was living in Santa Barbara, California, and I was going to graduate school. I was pursuing a PhD in history. And I was in that program for 3 years. And for the first 3 years of that program, basically since I got started, I felt out of place. I felt lost. And I just kind of felt like, what am I doing here? And yet, when I would say to myself, do I really want to be here? I would start making excuses to myself. I would say things like, you know what? Graduate school is supposed to be hard. This isn't supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be miserable, which when I look back at it, I think, what a bunch of BS, right? Those were some ridiculous belief systems that I was operating under at the time. Well, at this time, my body began to speak to me. And first, it was kind of a gentle whisper, I would say. I had some low grade anxiety and some low grade depression. And then it started to get a bit louder because I kept writing those things off and just saying, oh, this is normal. Graduate school is stressful. You're not supposed to be happy in your life right now. So those whispers would get louder. And I got to the point I was having panic attacks, the migraine headaches, which I had when I was a teenager that had gone away when I was in college. They came back with a vengeance. And yet still, I kept writing these things off. I kept dismissing this kind of inner voice that said, Lyn, are you sure this is what you want to be doing with your life? And I kept making those excuses because those excuses felt more comfortable to me than to admit that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I was terrified to be what I perceived as, quote, a grown-up. So it was at this point in the summer of 2004 that I was scheduled for elective surgery. It was a breast reduction surgery. And as the surgery approached, well, I felt both excited and a little bit nervous as well. Excited because I had wanted this surgery since I was a teenager, and nervous because, well, I think anybody feels nervous when they're having surgery. So fast forward to the day before surgery, and I had gone to see my surgeon. They did all the pre-op blood work. He did all of the markings on my breast tissue for the incisions, and went home thinking, okay, I'm going to see him tomorrow morning. Well, what I get is a phone call that evening from him, and he says, how are you doing? And I'm kind of feeling my anxiety rise. So I'm saying, I'm anxious because I'm wondering why you're calling me tonight. I thought I was just going to see you in the morning. And he said, well, don't freak out, but your pre-op blood work came back with some abnormalities. And it could just be a lab error, so just don't panic yet. I want you to just drive back over to the hospital. They'll draw your blood again. We'll run it again. We'll just make sure that this is really indeed what's going on. So I do that, come back home, wait, phone call an hour or two later. And he said, I'm sorry, Lyn. Yeah, it's not a lab abnormality. There's something wrong with your blood. I need to cancel surgery and you need to go see your primary doctor as soon as you can. And I was so shocked. I had no idea at this point what was going on because, again, it was elective surgery. Like I was a healthy 25-year-old, and he didn't really tell me a whole lot. So I try to sleep through that night. I go see my primary doctor the next day, and he runs more labs. He sends me home. I'm still given not much of a clue of anything at this point of what's going on. And the next thing I know, I get a phone call probably a day or two later from this doctor who I'd never met, which is highly abnormal, right? I mean, who here has gotten a phone call from a doctor they've never met? And he says, hi, Lyn, my name is Dr. So-and-so. I'm a gastroenterologist. How are you doing today? And I said, other than being completely freaked out, like, why are you calling me? I don't even know you. I'm okay. And he said, well, we want you to come to the hospital tomorrow morning if you don't have any symptoms tonight. But if you have any symptoms, please come to the hospital immediately. And I'm so shocked because I'm getting this phone call out of the blue and I don't know who this guy is and I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm so shocked. I don't even think to ask him, hey, like, what kind of symptoms are you talking about? What should I be looking for? I just kind of was like, okay, all right. I guess I'll see you tomorrow at the hospital. So I spend a very anxious night scanning through my body, like every little thing. Is that a symptom? Is that a symptom? Nothing really appears. So I go to the hospital the next morning and they admit me into the hospital, which it's serious when it's not just like, oh, hey, you're going to be here for a few hours. I meet this doctor and he says, we think you've clotted off the veins that drain your liver. Immediately, I'm thinking, that's not a good thing. That's not supposed to happen. And he said, we need to figure out why that's happened. And also, we have to figure out how to help address this problem. And again, this is so weird because I'm still completely asymptomatic at this point. So he sends in another doctor, and this guy's a hematologist. He introduces himself and he says, I need to do a bone marrow biopsy on you. And every time I say the word bone marrow biopsy to this day, I still get a physical reaction in my body. I had had an impression of what that was going to be like. And this doctor tried to say, oh, don't worry. I'm just going to give you a little local injection to numb the site. And all you'll feel is, quote, some pressure. What followed was the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced. I screamed so loud, probably people on the next floor of the hospital heard me, and he had to stop. He couldn't get any sample of my bone marrow, and it was intolerable to me. So that was a very traumatic part of this whole experience, going through that. But we proceed on. So after that, I'm in the hospital for a few days in Santa Barbara, and they say, okay, yeah, we're pretty sure you've clotted off these veins that drain the liver, and we need to get them open. There's a procedure they can do, but we've never done it in this hospital. So we want to send you to another hospital where they've done this before, which I'm thinking, okay, that's a good thing. I don't want to be anybody's practice guinea pig. And they'll figure out there what's going on, because no bone marrow sample, they couldn't kind of get any progress on that. So I'm sent up to San Francisco, and my mom and I fly up there, admitted to that hospital. It was the 4th of July weekend, so we sit around and wait for a few days. They run more tests. They do the process to successfully open up the veins that drain my liver. They do another bone marrow biopsy, this time with way more pain medication, like just loading me up. I wish I could have been unconscious, but I was able to tolerate it, kind of grip my way through it. And so at this point, I've been in 2 different hospitals for about 10 days. And I'm told one morning, okay, the doctor that's the head of your team is going to come in and he's going to have some news for you and your parents. So we wait anxiously, and he comes into the room and he sits down. And I can still kind of picture it in my mind. And he says, Lyn, we think that you have chronic myelogenous leukemia. And immediately it felt like all the oxygen in the room had been sucked out, and my mind started racing faster than I knew it could race. First thought was, am I going to need chemotherapy? I think there was something mixed in there too about bone marrow transplants, because that was one of my ideas about leukemia. The next thought after all of those little racing thoughts was, if I need chemotherapy, I think I would rather go wade out into the bay here in San Francisco and drown myself, because I don't know if I can handle this. So all of that happens in my brain in the span of seconds. And then I start to hear his voice saying to me, it's good news though, Lyn, you don't need chemotherapy. So small little sigh of relief. He says, we're going to put you on this medication that's supposed to target the genetic cause of this CML. And we're going to release you from the hospital soon. You're going to go home. They're going to monitor you. He was fairly positive. I don't remember all the things he said, but it wasn't a super doom and gloom. You have X number of months or years to live. But of course, as he leaves the room, my parents and my mom was like crying. I still remember her sobbing. All of us shell-shocked. It was a scary diagnosis, and I had no idea what it meant for me. So the next day, they released me from the hospital. We travel back home to where I lived, and I start to kind of try to resume my life. And I was still kind of going to graduate school at this point, partly because I needed the health insurance I had, partly because I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And then we add to that I'm going to doctor's appointments, I'm having blood tests, I'm being monitored, all of these things. So that just kind of continues for a number of months. And I go to these follow-up doctor's appointments with a hematologist. And he would draw these labs to look at how well the medication was working. And he would say excitedly, "Oh, good news. It looks like it's working. It looks like the labs are showing this medication is working." Well, over the course of probably about 6 months, I start to really physically decline. I go from, feeling not so great to feeling really awful. I'm fatigued, I'm losing strength, and most scarily, I start losing a tremendous amount of weight. So when I first got sick, I was probably somebody who could have lost 10 or 15 pounds, and that would have been good for me. I lost, how many pounds would I say? Probably close to 50 pounds in the course of a number of months. And so I'm thinking this medication is working, but I'm getting worse. I'm getting kind of confused because it's not making sense to me. But I start to kind of think, well, maybe it's just because this medication has this horrible side effect, the side effect of making me nauseous. So I would take it, they told me take it kind of towards dinner time, and I would most of the time take it and then I'd throw up whatever I ate because it made me so nauseous. And it mattered not whether I took it, right before I ate, after, like I couldn't time it right. I just was always nauseous with this. So I thought, well, maybe that's it. I'm just not getting proper nutrition, but the medication's working. Well, the other odd thing about all of these follow-up visits was this doctor would spend about 5 minutes with me, which seemed very short for somebody who deals with cancer patients. And he would always say, well, how are you feeling? Like most doctors do. And I didn't sugarcoat it. I wasn't somebody that would just say I was fine when I wasn't. So I would say, I don't really feel well. I feel exhausted, and I'd list off what I was dealing with. And at this point, his reply was always, "You look great," which was such a lie and such gaslighting. And I knew it because people in my life were telling me, don't lose more weight. Like they were worried about me because I was turning into a human skeleton. So it was like, why is this guy saying that? Like, I don't need flattery. I need honesty. So I knew at this point there was something wrong with my care, something wrong with the treatment that I was getting. And I would go back to my primary doctor and I would say to him, can I get a referral to a different specialist? Because I don't feel like this is the right person to work with for me. And he would reassure me, I went to medical school with him and he's the best in town. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if he's the best in town, like, what does that mean about everybody else? Because I'm not experiencing him as a good doctor. But I felt stuck. I felt like, he wasn't giving me that referral. And I was 25. I didn't really have the assertiveness to be like, no, you will give me another referral. The me of now would totally be demanding that. But back then, I was just like, okay, he's the doctor. What am I supposed to do? So I started to sink into a depression. I started to just go to kind of a darker place. Well, then in the fall of 2005, my best friend passed away very suddenly. And she actually died of a blood clot after having her tonsils removed. So it hit super close to home because I'm dealing with a clotting issue and she dies. And this pushes me to the deepest and darkest depression that you could imagine. I just laid around in bed most of the time. I stopped eating regularly. I would skip medications some days, partly because the medication made me feel so awful. And I was kind of, in a way, suicidal. I wasn't suicidal to the point I would pull out a gun and shoot myself or take a bunch of pills. It was more kind of the type of suicide where I just wanted to fade away into the background and just, not be here anymore. Well, after several months of this and my parents kind of saying, we're really worried about you, we think you need help, I finally kind of hit rock bottom. It was, I think, around Thanksgiving. And they convinced me to go to an inpatient mental health facility at this point. So I go into this facility, and probably a day or two into my stay there, I'm in a one-on-one therapy session, and I have this light bulb epiphany moment where I realize, you know what? Like, I don't think I really want to die. I just have no idea how to live with all this crap that I've just been through. Nobody had given me any tools. Nobody had helped me. All I had been offered when I had been given the diagnosis was they said, oh, we have a cancer support group. And when I heard cancer support group, what I remember thinking was, I'm an empath. And sitting around with a bunch of people who are going through chemotherapy sounds like completely awful. I'm having trouble with my own life experience. I don't need to hear other people's struggles. So that was awful, and I never did that. So this realization was just like, I need tools, I need help, and nobody's, giving me anything. So I'm released from that program. I was only there for about 5 days total. And I start seeing a therapist outside of there several days a week. And then I start to go, I think there's other things that might be able to help me. First, I just want to learn how to manage this anxiety and stress. So I go see somebody who does biofeedback therapy. And she hooked me up to all these sensors that measured my heart rate and my breathing. And then I could see it on a computer screen. So I would see that on the computer screen, and she would teach me how I could kind of control different things by breathing in certain ways and relaxing. And I started to feel better, and I started to feel more in control. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then my therapist had said, Lyn, why don't you check out this local yoga class at a studio? It's called Yoga for Healing. And when she first said yoga, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm sick. No, I'm not going to go to a yoga class, because all I'd ever seen was yoga in a gym. And I thought people stood on their heads and, bent into pretzels. So I said, I'm sick. And she said, no, it's different. Go. And it was different. I remember lying on the floor with props underneath me and just breathing and creating a new relationship with my body, and starting to realize my body hadn't betrayed me. It was doing the best it could. And so I needed to give it some love and support. And so all of these things started to make me feel more empowered and started to tap me back into listening to my own body. Well, about 3 years into this whole experience, I'm still seeing the doctor I hate, still getting the medication I don't like, but I'm starting to listen to there's got to be something more than this medical system. So I finally decide I'm stable enough. I'm a little bit healthier. I can leave my grad program, which I still hated, but I was there because I needed the health insurance. I can leave that and I can get a job. And at that point, my criteria for a job was the minimum number of hours to get health insurance. So I started working at a bank. And as soon as I got that job, I got new health insurance, went to see a new primary doctor, and I said to her, please send me to a different specialist. I really can't see this guy anymore. And she said, sure. And she wrote me a referral. So I go into this new doctor, and I have my stack of medical records. It was probably about 3 inches thick. And I bring them because I'd had experience years before where there was a chart. I tried to get a second opinion elsewhere, and they didn't have anything. So I brought my own records. He starts flipping through them, and he said, yeah, I don't think this is chronic myelogenous leukemia. And so I started to feel both hopeful, because he was listening to me and questioning what I was questioning, and also honestly pretty pissed off, because it had taken 3 years to get to this point, and I had been suffering during those 3 years. So he had to do more tests, and unfortunately another bone marrow biopsy to confirm what was going on. And he did that, and he confirmed it wasn't CML. It was a different blood disorder. And so they took me off that awful medication that had the nausea side effect, put me on something else, put me on kind of some other protocols. And I started to continually improve even more. So all the things I was doing had helped, but then finally, not being on that pill was a huge change for me. So I continued to get better and better. But what I realized at this point was, you know what, this system, I don't really trust it. I don't really trust doctors. I have to keep doing all the things that I've been doing to help myself. So by this point, I had added in acupuncture and Reiki and all sorts of things. I kind of became the yes woman of the alternative medicine scene. I would try things when people would suggest them. And all of those things continued to help me. And what I realized at this point in the journey, as I kind of let go of that grad program and I got more passionate about these things that were helping me, was that was my passion. That's really brought me to what I do in the world now. I knew that when I got better, I wanted to use what I had learned to help other people and to empower them to heal as well, because I knew that this system was flawed, and I knew that it was more about supporting our bodies and working that way. So I want to shift gears and I want to share kind of some teaching points of what I really hope that you most gain from this story. And I want to share that I hope nobody ever goes through anything as scary and as overwhelming as what I went through. But I know a lot of people go through their own health journeys and their own health issues with the medical system. So, how can you be more empowered in that process? How can you become your own health hero? So, the first thing that I want to share is, as you can tell from my story, our medical system is super duper flawed. It's necessary at times. Have a heart attack, please go see, go to the emergency room. Don't come see me. But there's a lot of flaws. And to truly heal, we really have to start to step outside of that system and to look to other things that can help us. So, as you can hear from my story, doctors don't always listen. Like, I was trying to say, this doesn't feel right. Like, I can tell in my body something's off. They didn't listen. They also make mistakes. I looked up a statistic before I was preparing for this, and about 12 million people in the United States alone are misdiagnosed each year. Now, maybe it's not as scary as, a leukemia misdiagnosis, but that's a significant number. When we question things, doctors don't always listen. They don't pay attention. They just kind of discount us. So first of all, I just want to make this one point that we have to be able to demand that second opinion. As I said, sharing my story, I wouldn't take no for an answer now. And I have demanded at other times in my care, nope, I'm going to go see somebody else. So feel empowered in your own care when you do have to be part of that system to say, I want a second opinion, maybe even a third opinion, whatever you feel you need. The focus on that system too is so much on just diagnosis and pills as the treatment. And there's other things that help our bodies heal. Things ranging from changing your diet, working to manage stress, doing things that like I do with my clients to help reprogram your mind. There's so many things. So we need to really step outside of that system because it's a limited system. It can save your life at certain points, but I don't think it's ever one that's designed to truly help you get well and heal in that way. And when we think of somebody else as that expert in that system, we're conditioned to kind of discount our own inner knowing. Like, they're the doctor, they know better. So please don't do that. Like, your body is your body. You're in it 24/7. And if something doesn't feel right to you in your body, and if something doesn't feel right to you in your gut, trust that. Because that is really an important part of what I learned in this journey, is that I knew something was wrong. It was just I needed to maybe scream louder to be heard. The second thing that I want to share about becoming your own health hero is that we really have to learn to listen to our bodies. We have to learn to kind of understand what our symptoms really are. So I'm always talking about this when I'm out there in the world. Our symptoms are just the language of our bodies. Now, unfortunately, bodies can't send us texts and say, hey, something's wrong. So all they have is pain and other sensations. And we need to get out of the conditioning that unfortunately we have been brought into, especially in the Western world, of seeing our symptoms as inconveniences and disruptions and things that, you reach for a Tylenol because you got a headache. It's more important to start to get curious about what they're telling us because, again, they're the language of our bodies. So what I would encourage you to play with is, even if you're just having like a minor symptom, get curious. Like, what is the message here from my body? Why do I have this headache? Why do I have this stomach ache? Just be curious. And this is really a process. It's a process I teach a lot with my clients because many times we're like, I have no clue what my body is trying to say. But the first step is really to just play with curiosity and just, instead of just being angry and irritated, get curious. The third thing that I really learned in this journey is the importance of processing our emotions, honoring our emotions, experiencing our emotions, and also addressing trauma. So when I think back on that part of my story where I was stuck in that situation, I sunk into the depression, it was because I had no tools and I was just kind of pushing my emotions down because they were overwhelming. Nobody ever gave me anything to help me navigate through those. And this is an often overlooked area in healing. There are some people out there that do talk about it, but it's an area we don't often talk about, is that your emotions and addressing what's happened to you in your life and that level has to happen for us to heal. And I just want to share a tiny bit of the science here. There are scientists who have studied, like, all of our emotions are made up of different chemicals. They're called neuropeptides. So there's a different one for anger and sadness and grief. And if we don't let those emotions move through us like they're designed to do, because emotions are just kind of energy that need to be moved, and we stick them, kind of stuff them down, they get stuck by our bodies in different areas. And this is why sometimes we wind up with pain, like out of the blue. It's like, why all of a sudden does my knee hurt? It's often because our body has stuck something there, and then that something is trying to get our attention. So I really want to encourage you, as part of your process, to be empowered to listen to your emotions and not to kind of shove them, or, we're conditioned, again, like a lot of these things, we're conditioned to be not, don't be so sensitive. How many times have you heard that one? Your emotions are intelligent. They're meant to be there. So don't feel bad for allowing them to be there and to allowing yourself the space to process them. The fourth thing that's really important when we want to become empowered in taking charge of our health and being our own health hero is to look at our minds. And this is something that I'm super passionate about as well, and I work a lot with my clients on. So, how many of you have heard of the placebo effect? And that's, many people are familiar with it from drug trials. Often there's one branch of the study, that person gets the pill, and one person, they get just a sugar pill. And they're trying to test how effective the drug is. Well, oftentimes people in that sugar pill category, placebo category, have just as good or sometimes even better results than those who got the actual drug. So what this tells us is that if we believe something's going to help us, because many of those people think, oh, I'm getting the medication, it's going to help me, then their mind actually creates that. There's also something called the nocebo effect, which is just kind of the opposite. So if we believe something won't help us or we won't get better, our minds also guide us down that pathway. So this is another area that is really important to be aware of. Like, what are you believing about your health? And when I think back to being given that diagnosis and hearing you have leukemia, like, that felt like a doom sentence to me, even though there was some reassurance there, the way it was delivered was kind of put me into more of that nocebo category. And doctors often aren't aware of how they deliver that news to you. Like, that's important too. So it's important that we look at, what do we believe in terms of our health? And, what do you believe is possible for you in terms of healing? And you may be somebody who's done a lot of work in that area. And I want to point to one specific area that you may be missing in this area. So in the first 7 years of our life, we are conditioned. We're like little sponges, and we don't have filters. So, everything that mom says and dad says and grandma says and all the people around us say, we just kind of absorb it. And that becomes our worldview and our belief system. And when we think back of what were you taught about health and healing and doctors in that period, probably most people haven't looked at it. I know I hadn't looked at it until actually this year. This was a new thing that I started exploring in my own healing, is what was I taught about a doctor? It was probably something along the lines of, you go to the doctor and he makes you feel better, right? So we have to look at this area and address it. And one of the ways I like to address it is using hypnosis, which I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a taste of here in a few minutes of what hypnosis is. But we have to erase those beliefs and clear them. Even if you consciously believe I can heal, if you got this subconscious first 7 years belief in there, it's going to be limiting you in your healing process. So this is kind of one area, again, that you can look to begin your own healing. And then the last thing that I really want to share is we need to look beyond the paradigm about what controls sickness. So I remember growing up being taught, everything has to do with your genes. Do you remember hearing, oh, grandma had this disease, grandpa had this disease, I'm probably going to get it because it runs in my family? This is common, right? But the truth is that only 5% of all disease is actually genetic in cause. 5%. So what's the other 95%? You're asking, right? The other 95% is something they call epigenetic. And epigenetic simply means what turns our genes on and off, what regulates them. So by understanding this, it's super exciting because what controls these epigenetics? I want to share this piece with you. I love this part. It makes me so excited because if we thought, oh, I'm going to get that because grandpa had it, it's different. Epigenetics, we control it by the foods that we eat. Are you eating healthy whole foods or are you eating processed foods? Are you exercising or not? How are you managing your stress levels? What toxins are you consuming in your life? The ones that you do have control over. That's one that kind of is a little bit out of our control too. Things that are in the air, we don't have complete control over as individuals. But all of these things we actually have control of. So, when you see people saying, oh, I'm going to get tested to see what my genetics are and predispositions, to me, it's very sad because I see a lot of women going out there, testing for like the BRCA gene, and then they're automatically thinking, I have it, I'm going to get it. And that gene doesn't have to become activated. So, we can become more focused on what can I do in my life to change that potential so it never activates. So really start thinking about your health is really a lot in your control. And that's super exciting because I think there's a lot out there that's disempowering. So those are kind of the 5 key things that I want to share with you about becoming empowered to take charge of your health. And I really hope that at least 1 or 2 are really good nuggets for you to walk away with. And I want to shift gears a little bit here. I want to give you a little taste of hypnosis. I love kind of giving people this experience because I remember when I first, thought about hypnosis, I was like, oh my God, I've seen it in movies and people bark like dogs and, cluck like chickens. And I don't want to do that. So hypnosis is not like that. That's stage hypnosis. The hypnosis I do is more for transformation and healing. And we create new empowering beliefs as part of this process when I work one-on-one. So if you're new to hypnosis, just a few things to kind of set your mind at ease. It's a lot like meditation. So if you've ever meditated, it's just a little bit different focus. And I'm going to guide you through some exercises at the beginning to just help you relax and drop into a different brainwave state. Know that you are always in control the whole time. So if this is not resonating for you, you're totally free to open your eyes. Nothing is taking control of you and you can't open your eyes and stop. So what I'd love for you to do is just kind of settle into your seat. And this is going to be a shorter hypnosis than, what I would do, but I want to give you just a little taste. And as you settle down, just kind of let your hands rest in your lap. And I want you to just take a deep breath in and hold it. And release your breath and close your eyes. And send a deep wave of relaxation from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. And now allow all of your muscles to turn loose and heavy, deeply relaxed, just like a rag doll. Just listen to my voice as it sends you deeper and deeper into a peaceful state. And if you hear any sounds other than my voice, just know that they'll send you deeper relaxed. And in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath. And when you breathe in, I want you to roll your eyes back as far as they'll go. And when you exhale, I want you to bring your eyes down like you're looking at your toes. So here we go. Take a deep breath in and hold it. And rolling your eyes all the way back as far as they'll go. Blink a couple times and exhale, bringing your eyes down like you're looking at your toes. Another deep breath in and rolling your eyes all the way back as far as they'll go. And hold your breath. Blink a couple times and exhale, bringing your eyes down like you're looking at your toes. And one more deep breath in, rolling your eyes all the way back as far as they'll go, and holding your breath. Blink a couple times and exhale, bringing your eyes down like you're looking at your toes. Now relax your eyes and continue to drift to the sound of my voice. The quality of relaxation you are allowing in your eyes is the quality of relaxation that I'd like you to allow yourself to have throughout your entire body. Just begin by relaxing the top of your head, your forehead, eyes, your jaw, down to your neck. Relax your shoulders. Feel them sink. Relax your chest, down your arms, and every single finger. Relax your stomach, your hips and thighs. Relax your legs down to your feet, and relax every single toe. Let go of every nerve and every fiber, and let yourself drift much deeper relaxed. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be, nobody wanting anything, nobody needing anything. This is your time to relax and let go. And take a moment to notice how much all of the muscles in your body have deeply relaxed in just a few short moments. Good work. You are now in a state of total and deep relaxation. And as you sink into this relaxing space, I'd like you to use the power of your imagination and picture yourself taking a slow and meditative walk in a peaceful and expansive place in nature, with an abundance of lush green trees and colorful plants all around you, with just the right amount of sunshine peeking through the trees to keep you warm, balanced with the perfect amount of shade to keep you cool. Feel the support of the earth beneath your feet as you continue to walk through the clear path ahead. Up in the distance, you begin to hear the sound of flowing water, and eventually, as you keep walking, you come to find a beautiful, ever-flowing creek. The current of the creek is gentle yet steady, and the water is glistening gold as it picks up and reflects the rays of sunshine through the trees. You can even see a few small rainbow prisms forming above the water through the mist. And imagine yourself taking a seat beside the creek and safely dipping your feet in to feel the continuous, energetic current of the flowing, warm water. And as you sit and enjoy this present moment, you reflect on the amazing body that you have been given as a vessel through which you get to live this life. While you acknowledge that in the past, there may have been times that you have experienced pain or discomfort in your body, or maybe you have even thought your body has let you down or even betrayed you, you realize in this moment that your body is truly an amazing creation and that it is always doing the best that it can for you. Take a moment to feel gratitude for the work that your lungs do each day to keep you breathing so that you can keep living your life. Every day, over and over again, they work for you to keep you supplied with the oxygen that you need to live and to help eliminate other substances your body doesn't need. Feel gratitude for your heart, which is always beating for you, even though you often aren't aware of it doing its job. You feel gratitude for each of the trillions of cells in your body that go about their unique tasks, cleaning waste, protecting you from illness, healing wounds, and so much more. You feel gratitude for your bones and muscles, which make up your body and allow you to have a structure that can move and walk and do the things you love. You feel gratitude for your blood that runs through every artery, vein, and capillary, bringing oxygen and other vital substances throughout your body. You feel gratitude for all of your sensory organs, which allow you to take in the world each day. And while in the past it was easy to focus on what is wrong in your body, now you are realizing that you can shift your attention to all the amazing things your body does each day without you even thinking about them most of the time. Wow, you say to yourself, my body does so much for me, and sometimes in the past I haven't taken a moment to appreciate it. You commit now to beginning to shift your focus each day to all the amazing things your body does for you and all the things that are working for you. And in the past, you might have struggled to prioritize taking care of and loving your body in the ways that you need. But now that you have this deep appreciation for your body, you are more committed to doing all the things that you love so you can support your body each day. You know you are worthy of health, healing, and well-being. You are worthy of feeling good. You are worthy of living a good life and feeling your best. And hear these beliefs as they are deeply embedded. I am worthy of good health. I am worthy of feeling good each and every day. I am worthy of tending to and taking care of my body. I choose to show my body love and gratitude each day. I show my body love by making good choices about the best foods, exercise, and other lifestyle choices. I love and honor my body. I know it is always working hard for me. I see my body as like a good friend who is always doing its best for me. I appreciate what it does for me. I am grateful to be alive. And each time you listen to this hypnosis, these suggestions become a part of your behaviors, actions, thoughts, and emotions. You are an incredible human being. Your body is strong, and you realize how grateful you are for a vessel in life. You take care of your body each and every day. And in a moment, I'm going to count up from 1 to 3. And when I reach the number 3, you will be fully awake and alert. 1, 2, 3. Eyes open now, feeling fully alert and knowing that you love your body and you are worthy of health and healing. So as you come back from this experience, just kind of take a moment to integrate and know that if you really like this hypnosis, I also have a free one you can download on my website. You'll get a link to that at the end of my talk. And it's a tool you can use. It's called I Am Healthy and Resilient. So it's a little bit of a different one, but I hope you'll check that out. And I thank you for listening to my story. I thank you for letting me share. And if you're someone who's out there looking to become your own health hero and you need a partner in that journey, please do reach out. I would love to talk with you and share with you how I might be able to support you in that journey. Thank you.